They cannot figure you out. They can't figure you out. They cannot figure you out. And it's frustrating them. That's okay. That's okay. Let me tell you, our quiet, my quiet people out there, my quiet people, my people that they, with that internal dialogue, my beautiful people out there that has that internal dialogue, my beautiful observant people out there, my quiet people out there that are observant. You observe, you're observant. And people cannot figure you out and they don't like it. It gets under their skin. Okay? Another thing, if you're too kind, if you are too kind and you always want to be around, and your reasons for wanting to be around is because you really just want to help out, right? They don't trust you. They don't. That's why I'm telling you this but I'm telling you this because this is what people are thinking. And so when people treat you differently, you could be doing absolutely nothing and people are treating you differently. This is why. Okay? They can't figure you out. They can't figure out your intentions. And it's like, so you have to treat me bad because you can't figure out my intentions? How about everyone is, innocent until proven guilty? What happened to that? What happened to that? What happened to our grace that we should be extending to one another? What about when you offer your help and you just keep, you ever been around somebody that don't like asking for help? Well, they like asking for help, but not from you. I don't know if any of you encounter that. There's some particular, they ask for help, but they're not gonna ask you, right? Because then they feel like you want something from them. Are you trying to get too close to them? They can't figure you out. They can't figure out your motive. They can't figure out your intention. And so what happens is they end up pushing you away, and little do they know, they pushed away somebody that was a blessing. You are a blessing to a lot of people. You were a blessing. You are a blessing. And because, someone may have been hurt before, someone may have been mistreated, mishandled, that has nothing to do with you. So don't take it personal when you realize, because sometimes it may take a while to realize this, especially with certain people who we want to be close with, but we're not getting there. How they're treating us in return has nothing to do with us. Nothing. So don't let anyone make you feel some kind of way because of how that situation goes. Just know that, that person, they may not trust you. They can't figure you out. And they want to figure you out. They want to be right about that hurt that they're going through. They want to be right about whatever bias, stereotype, whatever that they have in their mind. That's why, a lot of times, what am I saying? Not a lot of times, but that's why I don't like using labels. Introvert, you know what I mean? Those type of labels, because those are labels that people that can't figure us out, they can't figure us out. And so they put us in a box that's the safest and easy to understand. And if they can assign us a label, then yes, they could then they know, instead of trying to get to know us for themselves, they take the easy way out, the cheapest way out, right? And then assign a label because they can't figure us out. They assign us a label and then they treat us according to that label. That's why I do not like using labels. I don't like using labels because of reasons like that. Not all introverts are the same. Not all people that are anxious are not anxious are the same. Not all not all people that are sensitive are the same. Not everybody that nerds, right? Not all nerds are the same. You know what I mean? Like, those are just like labels people put on you for them to be able to understand you because they can't figure you out. They cannot figure you out. So when they find the label, they get the label, they stamp it on you, and then they're going to treat you like that label. And what happens is it creates a rift. And they really can't get to truly know you for who you are. But that puts them at a disadvantage. Don't you be, tore up about that. I know we want to get close to these people, but that puts them at a disadvantage. Okay? I always say, again, we cannot control other people's emotions. I had to learn this. And then I had to tell a partner this. We cannot control other people's emotions. And so I say that to say, that is for God. That's God's work to do. Your job is to show up authentically as you. But like I was saying, it creates a rift to where they cannot receive whatever blessings God has placed in you for them to benefit from. Because you are a blessing to people. But when people cannot figure you out, they treat you differently. They treat you like an outcast. They're not accepting. They're not open. They don't want to get close to you. And then they push you away intentionally, unintentionally. And then they are the ones that's missing out. They're the ones that's losing out because they don't see the blessing that you are from God. Truly, truly, because trust, if we had a choice, I think that we would choose to not be around some of these people that treat us like outcasts. I'm just saying respectfully, if we had a choice, we would choose to not be around some of these people that are not so kind. But, sometimes God places us in environments and it exposes some things. Or sometimes we end up in our own environments not knowing that some of the people in those environments are like that. And then that's also another type of exposure. And, us being us, we want to get closer to this person, and that person, they're not going to tell you they don't trust you, but you can use your discernment and gather a little bit here, a little bit there to see that it's something about you they just don't, they just can't put their finger on. But you see, instead of getting to know you for yourself, you're different, stamp that label on your forehead and pass you along. But see, don't feel discouraged. That's their loss. That's their loss. Because if they got to know you, they will know how genuine you are, how loyal you are, how much of a ride or die that you are. Okay. How giving you are. But you know what? People like that, they'll probably abuse it. They'll probably abuse it because you know why? They don't know how to handle it. They're used to people being mischievous, being deceptive. They're used to people lying, being sneaky, trying to get over on them. That's what they're used to. So they probably wouldn't have been able to handle you the right way anyway. So again, their loss. So share your stories below. I really want to hear, your encounter with, individuals like these, and let me know. Yeah, and just don't, when someone you can just tell they just pushing you away, don't force the connection. Do not force the connection. Okay, don't. I always say, or I always felt that, connection should happen naturally. If you feel led or called to invite someone here, invite someone there, then do it. Do it. Do that. Do what the Holy Spirit tells you to do. But don't never force connection with anyone, especially if you can see that they're not. You can just tell if someone is just like open to you. If they're closed off to you, don't force it. Let it happen naturally. Let it happen naturally. And still be kind to these people. Still be kind. But, I've been in a situation to where I've always offered to hang out, and I was always rejected. No. Respectfully, they didn't, but they wasn't mean about it. But I could tell after a certain point in time, okay, this person doesn't want to get close to me. And, so that's another video for another day. But I say all that to say, don't take it personal. Just know that, again, it's a reflection of themselves and their fears or whatnot. And if they do assign a label to you, you don't have to accept that label because you know who you are. I am so big on your identity. You know who you are. Be confident in who you are. I know sometimes we get into spaces, environments, groups, social groups, clubs, organizations, families, friend groups, and we want to be accepted. We do. We really want to be accepted in some of those groups. Sometimes, some people don't care, and that's good. Good for you. I wish I could be like you. But sometimes we do care, and then we show up and people try to make you feel like you're not worthy of being a part of that group. That's why it's important to have an identity, know who you are at your core, so that when people reject you, you don't go spiraling out of control. Please, I encourage you, if you don't have an identity, get close with God. You should be getting close with God anyways, but, get close with God and really know who God says you are. And when you know who God says you are, nobody can't tell you nothing. Nobody cannot tell you anything. They're the ones that's really going to be looking crazy. Trust and believe. They're the ones that's missing out. Okay? So, they can't figure you out. Good. That's their loss. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to my sanctuary space. God bless you.